What is up, everyone? It's a chilly day. There's really not much to do right now. The ice out there is kind of shady. I really wouldn't be out on it myself, and I can't really take the boat out yet. So hey, figured might as well come out here and just go through the boat. I'll show you a few things I did, a few things I'm working on, and yeah, we'll go from there. Well, I just realized I got a few things back here on the boat, so let me clean those up quick and we will get to it. This boat, when I got it, was pretty much in shambles. It had sat covered, at least, so it didn't get soaked. It was just covered with leaves. Carpet was just horrible. So I went through, redid everything. So let's start with the front of the boat here and what I've done with it so far. All right. Alright, so that is the front deck. I'll show you a few things that I did. Let me just go ahead and find the keys to unlock all my compartments and we'll pick this up. Alright, so we'll start up here with the front deck here. We'll start, I guess, from the very tip. So what I did was this thing had an old power drive in, and I was able to find a couple deals on Craigslist. So we're all set up with an 80-pound 24-volt Tarova system, and that paired up with the iPilot. Not the fancy link, but still does the job. Up front here, what we did was we've got our trolling motor plug here, a couple switches underneath for the aerator and also for the trim. But what I did was I took this bracket here from, I believe it's Deckit mount system. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer on that. And I've got that mounted up there, and then what happens is I go ahead and I throw my, I've got a Helix 7 that I put up there. So let me grab that quick and I will show you what the setup looks like when it's running. Alright, so here it is. I'm not really going to turn it on, but I'm sure if you got a Humminbird, you know what it looks like. But this is the graphs with the new cover. It's, like I said, well, I don't have it tightened down, so pardon me for a second. Easy on, easy off. Like I said, if you follow me on Instagram, that's what I was after. So that's pretty much my setup. So as I'm standing up, you know, casting, and glance down at the graph, see what's going on. So yeah, let's move on to the compartments. Alright, so I've got three main compartments up front here. These to this one here and this one here obviously came built into the boat. This one here I built. I added this addition here, and I'll show you what I did in a second. But let's start with this one up here. This one here, I also I put these latches in here. The ones that came with it were kind of crappy, and I just didn't like them at all. So I had to drill the holes a little bit bigger, but they work out great. So let's go in this one here. Now, actually, I'm still in the process of adding a shock to keep this thing up here because it wants to always come down on me. So give me a second. I prop it up here. All right, we should be good to go. I just picked up this Yolotech stick, and already it's coming in handy. Not even for shooting video yet, but hey, it's doing the job. So in this first one here, I have a removable tub here. So Let me just pull this out. Mostly Guggen baits in here right now. This is how the boat was when I got it, pretty much. We've got a compartment down here, and you probably can't see down here, but it just goes up front here. And up front here I keep all of my extra, what do I got in there? Buoys, foot pedal for my trolling motor. I'm not quite sure. I should probably actually get down there and see before I start the season. But what I did was this tote right here that I have my baits in. My problem was this. This is how the boat came. Now, my problem with this setup here was that this is an old fish and ski boat set up to do both fish and ski. So I wanted a way to put, you know, gear, baits, whatever, and have quick access. And yeah, I mean, as you can see, it's just one big hole, so I can't really do much with it. So I don't know how I came up with this idea, but I bought one of these gray basins. So it's like a medical wash basin. I will put the link in the description below. I got these off of Amazon, and it wasn't much. I got a whole stack of them, and it works out well. But all I had to do was cut a little slot in here for the latch to catch. And so now all I do is basically drop it in. I have quick access to all my baits and everything here. I can still grab it, pull it out, put more stuff underneath it. Usually not this because I want that handy, but just in storage, that's where I put it. But basically that's the setup. So have stuff I want to have quick access to, but if I want to get at it, I just pop this thing out. I can get at whatever's below. So that's pretty much that. Now on this side, it's pretty much just a mirror image. Let's see what I got in there. Let me switch around this yellow tech here. This one here, some ropes to tie off, some sunblock, some gloves for grabbing nasty pike. This here I keep this here, and I've got some tools in it. You know, screwdrivers, spark plugs, just random stuff I need. But it's fairly quick to access, like I said, with this whole setup, just like the other side. So that goes in there. This one here is, like I say, I cut it for the latch, just drops right in, and that is pretty much that. So alright, so those are the front two. Now I'm going to show you this add-on here. Now I was able to get some of the stuff I needed through supplies I had and a couple of online vendors, Amazon being one for the latches. I think I had the angle aluminum around here from my last boat project, was a 14-foot aluminum boat, but the lid, which you'll see shortly, I picked up from a place, is it Great Lakes Skipper is what it's called, and they have a whole selection of parts that you can get for older boats, like takeoff parts, stuff like that. I will put a link as well to that in the description. Check it out if you're looking for random stuff, or if you're into building, you know, extra stuff in your boat or whatever else you might need. So let's get to the add-on now. Alright, so as you can see, I'm not sure on the actual measurements, but basically this whole spot right here, that is the addition that I added. I wanted additional storage for mainly tackle. So we put this in here. Now this one here, I added a shock to keep it up, which is what I plan to do with the other two up front. I just haven't got around to it yet. So this is basically what I built. It's all fastened with stainless hardware and angle aluminum, which if you own a rivet gun or a rivet tool, they come in super handy. So what I did with this is I just basically extended it. I wanted a spot to put all my gear, my tackle, This one here I use just for random stuff. I've got, let's see, I've got my scale, my iPilot controller, some more tackle, whatever else I feel like putting in here. A lot of times I might stick my wallet in here or whatever. But, so that's what I did with that. I put a divider in here, which I had to notch out a section here. Let's see. Right here for the latch again to catch, but it's great. So now, I mean, this thing, I mean, it fits perfect. I mean, and if you look, you can actually see some of the stock markings on there. This is actually off another Stratos boat, and it fit like perfectly in here. I mean, perfectly. Once I wrapped the carpet on, just, I mean, look at this fit. It's great. The front piece here, that I built, as well as the divider, out of some marine plywood I had laying around, wrapped it in carpet, and that's pretty much it. So this is one of my favorite parts one of my favorite projects that I've completed so far on this boat. It adds a ton more fishability to it as far as being able to access tackle. Adding this little shock here, that's a lifesaver as well. When I first put this in, I didn't have anything, and needless to say, I cracked my head a couple times with it falling down. So that's pretty much it. All right, so that was the add-on. If you have any questions, maybe you have another Stratos boat or something, questions, feel free to put it in the comments or contact me. You can contact me on Instagram as well. I'm fairly active on there. Dirty Outdoorsman is my handle for Instagram. I will also post that in the description below. So the next part I did was, as you can see, this is what I'm working with. So let me fix this here. Oop. So as you can see, there's not a whole lot for storage. I mean, this was built in 1990. When it was built, my guess is that fishing wasn't as big as it is now. And it's just a small entry-level boat meant to do skiing with the family, just ride around the lake, or fishing. So it does a bunch of things okay, nothing spectacular. But so that's what I'm working with. My biggest issue is rods. Where do I put my rods? When I'm pulling my boat, I have a 5.5 foot bed. I don't want to leave my rods in there, because usually if I'm on a fishing trip, my gear is packed back there. So I needed somewhere on the boat that I felt comfortable storing rods, that I could also lock them up, you know, at gas stations or hotels, you know, wherever I would have to leave it, you know, for 5-10 minutes overnight. So what I did was, this boat came with a, I guess ski locker is technically what they call it. So I converted that with some parts also from Great Lakes Skipper that I'll leave in the comments. So let me show you how I converted that ski locker into my rod locker, even though it's fairly small. So this right here is what we came up with. Same locks and latches on all my compartments. This one here fits pretty snug. So as you can see, I want to say my longest rod in here right now is, I think I have an actual 7-footer in here. If not, it's like a 6'10". But I ended up coating the bottom with like a just like a spray-on bed liner, and I'll try to zoom in here. I got these rod dividers here. Picked those up from the website listed below, and I had to do a little trimming. I had to work a little magic, but I mean, not too much. So now I can fit, I think it's a total of 8 rods roughly if I use the dividers there. I'm still tossing around the idea of actually just taking it out and maybe just using it as an open space for all that. So I added this shock up here, just like I did with the other compartment, because if you follow me on Instagram, I don't know if I put a post on there, but I added this shock here because I have broken a couple of rod tips off. Because, I mean, if you can see this, let me zoom back out here. This can be a little bit of a tight fit. I mean, I got to go up kind of an angle to pull it out here. Now, as I'm out on the lake, you know, there's some chop or whatever. Before the shock here, it was very easy for this thing just to slam shut, and hence the broken tips. So, added that shock there, and now, I mean, this thing, it takes a good amount of force to get it to close. So, that's what I did with that. Now, as you can notice, for the most part, I try to keep it clean. I guess maybe just because I put all the hard work into it, I'm a little bit pickier about it. I do have one little stain here. Note to you fishermen out there who might touch up jig heads on the water. Don't use I think it's the Tester's enamel pen that I had. Popped it open one day and it just all over it. So this is actually way better than it originally looked. It was a big streak. So that is the front. We could pop up to, as you can see, I got the new seats from Bass Boat Seats here that they fold down. Got the back ones here. My camera bag there. I do have an old motor back here, which, believe it or not, this motor, it runs very well now that I actually took the time to tune it up. But let's move to the helm here. So this guy here, this steering wheel, which I love the grips on it. This is actually off I think it's technically for a Polaris not a Ranger, a Polaris Razor. That's what it is. This thing just bolted right up. I mean, it's the same bolt pattern. I did add this billet spacer just to bring it out because it doesn't have as much of a dish, you know, as the original one. Had to do a little wet sanding and stuff even with the gauges here. I mean, they're a little bit dirty at the moment, but they shine up really nice now when I wipe them down. I'm going to look at possibly updating these old switches here. They probably won't come in with the glare, but I got two there, a couple over here. So one of my projects this year is going to be to replace these guys here. Now, let me show you my electronic setup that I'm running so far at this point. Still dialing everything in, but let me go ahead and throw it on for you quick. So before I throw it on, let me show you how I mounted it essentially. Hold on. Alright, so what I did with this is a bracket. Now, the spot I have it mounted in, it's kind of a tight between, you know, the windshield here and the dash. So this bracket actually comes off I believe it's a flush mount kit for the Helix 7. And what I did was I had to drill some holes. I mounted the ball portion on there, and then it goes up on this ram mount here. So let me pop that in quick. Alright, and this is how it looks when she's all in. Now I can adjust it, you know, tweak it back and forth here, but for the most part, yeah, I've got enough room here. I mean, obviously not with the cover, but for turning the steering here, put my graph here. But I mean, this 7 is probably about as big as I'm going to fit in here unless I did some work to this, or either modifying it, which I've already done, or just plain getting rid of it. I'm not quite sure at this point, but that's the setup I have for my electronics up front here. This is the SI unit, which I still have a lot of learning to do with that, but that is what we're running here. All right, and then the other side here, obviously, it's a fishing ski, so it does have the dual consoles. I've got a new prop here. Let's get that out of the way. Carpeting, I had to do all the way up there. I've got my fire extinguisher mounted up there. And here, just kind of some random junk. Towel, extra batteries, line cutters. Thing in here, there's a radio in the back, which I don't really use that much. I actually take my Bluetooth speaker and I use that more often. This guy right here, because these seats here, these are the factory seats now. They're kind of low. They're kind of low. I'm still playing around with a little pedestal to bring them up higher, but I want it somewhere in the middle, so that's still a work in progress. But they're kind of low, so getting up tends to suck, especially when you're old and out of shape, I guess, whatever. Just, I suppose for anybody it sucks. But I added this grab handle. Also off a Great Lake Skipper, because I order a lot of stuff from there. But this thing is solid. I mean, you can grab onto this, pull yourself up, and it's definitely one of the nicer things that I put in there. I mean, got the full stainless on there. And it ties in nice with the, the fake chrome, whatever, handles there, the accents on the steering wheel. And if you are picky like I am, the small details matter to you. So, yep, that's that. All right. Moving on to the back here. Now what we have here are I don't forget what they call these, but they're not the full back seats, but they go perfect. They fit, darn near close to flush with the rear deck. As you can see, with the rear deck, like with everything else in this boat, I just recarpeted everything. New latches in there. They all lock. I know it's not the greatest lock, but makes me feel a little bit more secure. So we got that. These seats down here, they will actually pull up with the pedestal here, and they will go up here. Now, if I'll be able to pull these out one-handed, just give me a second. All right, so this is where the seat goes when you're not using it on the pedestal, and that is it up on the pedestal. Now let me tell you, these things right here are a lifesaver, at least for me. Not as nimble as I used to be, I guess. Just your lower back can take a beating while being on the lake all day. So this setup right here is awesome. So now I suppose while I have these out, these were a lot of work to clean out. I mean, I still have a few scratches and scuffs. I actually thought about putting a rubber backing on this entire back. That still might be in the works, but these speakers, they had some boxes kind of mounted up front, which took up foot space, so I flush mounted them in the side. Even though I don't really use them, once in a while, it is nice that they're positioned here and they're out of the way. So in the middle here, I always keep my Stanley cooler. Love this thing. Love it. You don't need a Yeti unless they're going to give you one, or you are rich and don't care about price. So love that thing. I always keep it with me on the boat. The middle here, I don't have a locking one, but in here it's not much. Let's see. For the most part, I just have, I guess, towels in here. I carry, I think that's some old pre-workout container, but I actually have pink Himalayan sea salt in this thing. I add this to my water in the summer. I used to have a horrible time getting headaches, and I add pink Himalayan sea salt to my water, and magically I don't get headaches if I'm drinking that out in the water. Some flip-flops, stuff like that. I believe this thing sounds like it's semi-insulated. So at some point I might insulate this cover, perhaps even put it into a locking one, maybe to keep food for the day or whatever. I'll have to test it and see how well it insulates, but that's pretty much the middle there. This seat here, pretty much the same thing. That one I usually use up front with me. So onto the back here. I'll just get straightened up and be right with you. All right, now that we are clean again on the back deck here, we'll go through these here. Now on this side here, these open up far enough that I can actually leave them open, and typically unless there's a bunch of chop, it's going to stay open. But at some point I will be adding shocks somewhere in here or here, but I'll be adding shocks to that. But I just keep, random gear depending on the trip. My needs, vary. So from time to time, I mean, basically they will have different stuff in there. So just a little bit of tackle right now. I usually leave this one open for the most part, and if I take a buddy fishing, then they have somewhere to put their tackle. I mean, it's not huge, but it's something. So there's that one. Now we got the middle here, my little live well. And I have it lined with a cooler bag because honestly, I tend to use this more for just a giant cooler than fish, which is sad. But we're going to change that this year. We're going to put some fish in this live well. Mark my words. So this is basically it. Now this had a leak here. It was an adventure, let me tell you. So now I have new drain plumbing. I also installed, let's see if we can get this on camera. I went to the hardware store, picked up some PVC here. So it's somewhat of an aeration system. Just open it, close it. And then I got my other valve over the drain. I still intend to put a small light in here because if I want to crappie fish or walleye fish at night, it would be nice to flip on the light and see what's going on. So that's pretty much the live well. I mean, nothing fancy to see there. And like I said, if I do add a light and maybe some recirculation stuff, we'll go over it again. And on to the back. Now the back isn't anything fancy. It's a bigger door, as you can see. It runs the whole length. So give me a second to hop down and open this thing up. And this is what we've got. Nothing spectacular, but switched everything over. My trolling motor from 12 to 24 volts. I got this Connect Ease system in here, and this thing, it's awesome. I mean, it bolts right in. It's easy plug and play. If I want to take these out to remove them for whatever, I literally just undo the black harness, the two clips here, and I pull them straight out. I mean, easy peasy lemon squeezy, right, as they say. My fuel tank, nothing fancy. I did add this water separating filter here, which really helped smooth out how my motor was running. Let me see if I can get to the other side here. I kind of have snowblower and other winter stuff in the way, but this side here is not as clean as you can see. I usually keep my eye out on Amazon for the best prices. I want to say I snagged that kit for 25 bucks, I think, and it's normally like 60, 70. So I'm still watching prices, and I'm going to pick up another one for this side. And this side has got like my electronics, nothing fancy. I added, you can see it or not, I have the Cabela's Advanced Anglers charger here. And this one, because I already had it mounted, just space-wise, this one actually charges those batteries over there. And I have one on the other side tucked in there, and that smaller one charges this battery. So it's a little bit of a tight fit, but it works, I did a lot of cleaning out in here. Added a new bilge pump, some other stuff going on. I believe I still have to wire up my the automatic portion, but if you own a boat, you know how it goes. break out another 1,000, right? Or there's always something going on. One or the other. All right, one last final thing I did was I hated plugging all my stuff in the back. I wanted something easy to access. So I got this, I believe it's a Noco. It's a nice plug. Plugs up there when I want to plug it in. I just have my extension cord here, pop this thing in, and we're good to go. Charging away. Definitely recommend this. Should be on Amazon. I want to say it's maybe a Noco, something like that. But super cheap is like maybe $12. So pick one up. You do have to potentially drill in your boat if you want an install like this, but I definitely recommend it. I've got 2 chargers, and I have this split into a Y in the back, connecting them both, and it's just super easy. I come in, pull it in, grab my extension cord, pop it in right away, and it's good to go. So the power tilt on it was broke when I first got it. That was one of the main issues. He's like, the motor runs fine, but it doesn't go up and down. So I'm like, well, I could probably figure it out. So what ended up happening, I had to get a new pump. Amazon, I want to say I ended up scoring it for a pretty darn good price, maybe $40. It was a pain in the butt to put in, but once we got her, she fired up, up and down, no problem. Had to add a little fluid and bleed the system, but we are good to go. Other than that, this baby, I had some issues starting it last year. I had to go through the motor again. I figured, well, I'll clean the carbs, get that done out of the way, because it had been running well. It was a bear sometimes to get going, but once it was going, it started right up. So pull out the carbs, get them all cleaned, put everything back together. But prior, as I was taking it apart, I realized, hey, when my choke is on, the butterflies, they're not fully closed. They're like half open. So I'm like, this isn't right. So quick, dialed those in the right way, adjusted them. And now this thing literally, from being stone cold, takes me maybe 10 seconds tops. If you have an old 2-stroke, they can be a little bit iffy sometimes. But this one here, it's a little short on power, but I can't complain. She purrs like a kitten when she's going. So it moves this boat, I want to say 32-ish on the GPS. I am going to be, I think it's hard to see here, but the motor back here, that thing is, it's pretty much dialed all the way down, which, looking at other pictures of other boats of this general, either this make and model or similar setups, they're all set up a lot higher. Now, I did crawl underneath. There's a formula online that you can do to measure, I believe it's the bottom of the keel to the cavitation plate, and technically, according to that, I was like 4 inches off, I believe. So we're going to raise that up this year. I also have a higher pitch prop. My main concern is I just want to plane quick, so when I want to get out of there, I can go. I'm not really concerned about top speed. It's not really a big deal to me. I don't fish huge lakes that I need to get across large sections. I want to say there's only been one situation where I was forced to pull in to a dock and kind of wait out a little short burst of wind, but it does the job. And God, that thing's older than me, but I love it and I hate it at the same time. And it just says America, right? Look at that. Got some red, white, and blue going. So yeah, that's pretty much, I think that's about it. I'll go over the outside super quick. I show pictures of that all the time. It's a little dusty right now, but I want to say I spent a good solid 2 weeks by hand sanding this thing. And now we're talking, all wet sanding. I want to say I started with like 400 and worked my way up slowly, and then polishing after it was done. And I think in the very crappy first YouTube video I put up, you can see where I think I document the cutoff between what it looked like after I washed it when I first got it and what it looked like after I started polishing it up. So other than that, yeah, let's show you what I ended up with. Like I said, I mean, it's not in the bright sunlight. I mean, you need sunglasses practically, but let me show you what we ended up finishing this thing up and how it looks. If you don't follow my Instagram and haven't seen me post 900 pictures of the sparkle in it. So hold up. So this is here what we ended up with. I mean, this thing, I mean, she shines pretty well. It's kind of hard to see, like I said, just under garage lights, but I mean, you can get the gist of it. You can kind of see it sparkle here. A lot of man hours in taking care of this. Oh yeah, one more thing. This rub rail in here, I ended up last summer having to take this entire thing off, which was a pain in the butt. But I always had a problem with water getting in, and I always wondered how it was getting in the bilge. And I think I finally figured it out. Somebody had taken this off at one point. When I removed it, there was a ton of screw holes that just had no screws in it. It also was missing any sort of caulk. Actually, it did have some in certain sections, but not consistently around the whole thing. So what I did was pulled that thing off, put it back, did all the caulking around the edge here. Every single screw in this thing, which I kid you not, I feel was like 200 screws around this entire thing. Had to put some sealant on it, put them back in. It was quite a lengthy process, but hopefully it'll be worth it. Actually, I haven't tested it since I did it, but the only other thing I can think of is this windshield. It used to sit a little bit more like this, but I really needed the spot inside for my graph. So what I did was made some adjustment to these, had to recut the end, and was able to tilt it up. I want to say the old one was like maybe like something like this angle, something like this. And as you can see, I was able to push it up a little bit more, which actually did a ton for visibility. So when I'm sitting in there driving, I can now duck and see through the windshield instead of just over the top. So now maybe at some point when I get a chance, I can go over a few more things. If you have any questions, things I might have done, or just general questions or whatever, feel free to contact me, and I will gladly help you as much as I can if you have one of these beautiful old Stratos boats. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this boat tour. I am still new at this whole YouTube thing. I just picked up this camera. Hopefully that helps out with quality wise. I've got the YOLO Tech stick, which I'm going to mount on here. Hopefully get some nice GoPro footage this summer. I hope to put up a lot more this year. So yeah, hopefully it warms up, and we will see you on the next video. All right, take care.